after that, he's still working on getting that changeup and curveball over the plate when he's behind in the count.
And for the Cubs, their major import from the offseason, left-hander John Lester signed a big free agent contract coming over from Oakland.
Well, he's one of those guys. He's signed because he makes 30 or more starts every year. He wins 15 or more games every single season. It's been kind of a slog for him early on, but he's pitched much better of late.
So it's the Mets and the Cubs. Wind blowing out tonight here at Wrigley Field, opening a 4-game series on the near north side. All the action coming your way on SNY.
The official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the New York Mets. By Budweiser, still brewed the hard way, this Bud's for you. And by State Farm, today's State Farm agent of the game is John Garfinkel of Brooklyn. Contact John at johngarfinkel.com. Time to vote for your Mets All-Stars. You can vote 35 times on the 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot at Mets.com. Voting is exclusively online and available on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. Vote at Mets.com now. Toyota tweet of the game comes from tomorrow night's starter, Noah Syndergaard, who's getting ready to make his major league debut. He's humbled, honored, and excited. Work comes tomorrow. Tonight it's Jacob deGrom coming off a good start his last time out against the Orioles and trying to build on that. Mets and Cubs, first pitch coming right up. Wrigley Field. Get to Citi Field this Saturday when the Mets take on the Brewers at 7:10. The first 15,000 fans will receive a Mets fedora, courtesy of Sector Spider. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Well, you can see fans in those bleachers in center field and left field. John Lester getting ready to take the mound for the Cubs. This is the first day that the bleachers have been open, and they are packed tonight. The Cubs were on the road yesterday for Mother's Day, so the fans are wearing pink T-shirts in honor of the fight against breast cancer today in those left field bleachers. The right field bleachers, well, still a work in progress. That new board in right field just got turned on today, so little by little Wrigley Field is becoming a little more modern.
The Home Depot part of the building.
Yeah. The big scoreboard out in left center, big video board, has been open all season, but for the first time there are fans underneath it. That's the right field board with the Mets lineup. And there's still plenty of construction to do. You come to the ballpark here and it is just littered with construction equipment and dust everywhere you go.
You know what's interesting about the television, Gary, in left center field? Most of them in baseball have advertisements around the screen, but it's almost like it's a TV in your living room. It's got great clarity.
Well, there is 31-year-old Johnny Lester getting ready to face the Mets for the first time since 2006. And there's the Geico Mets starting lineup that will face him tonight. John Mayberry gets the start against the lefty, trying to break out of a slump. Wilmer Flores in there at shortstop. Dilson Herrera, who sat yesterday, in at second base. Kevin Pilecki sat yesterday. He's back behind the plate. And Lester has put together a couple of good starts in a row now for the Cubs.
Yeah, here's the Toyota numbers for Lester. Three-time All-Star, world champion twice with the Boston Red Sox. For these right-handed hitters for the Mets, you're going to see a steady diet of cutters and fastballs inside. And then the Coors Light Cubs defense behind Lester. Coughlin in left field, Dexter Fowler and Jorge Soler in right field. Infield laden with young talent. Chris Bryant, Starlin Castro, Addison Russell, and Anthony Rizzo. As good as it gets. And David Ross, kind of the personal catcher to John Lester behind the plate.
That infield, all 25 and younger. And they've already started 16 games as a quartet, the most for any infield that young since the 1986 Mariners. And it's a team on the rise. It's a team with a lot of young talent, and Lester is their hired gun to try and help along a pitching staff that has struggled early in the season for Joe Madden, who was the other hired gun. They hired him away from Tampa Bay, and amid some controversy.
Some people will make the argument he might have been the most important free agent signing of the winter.
The Cubs just recently got cleared of tampering charges in their pursuit of Madden. Juan Lagares elevated to the leadoff spot tonight, with Curtis Granderson getting the night off against the left-hander. Lagares, Mayberry, and Murphy to try and get the Mets started. Mets won 2 of 3 in Philadelphia. They've won 4 of their last 5. They start the night at 20 and 11 with a 3.5 game lead over Washington in the National League East. 68 degrees. Wind is blowing mostly out. It's a hitter's kind of a night. It may not be that way the rest of the series, so the hitters better enjoy it tonight. Lester's first pitch is on the way, and Lagares takes a strike, and we're underway. You see the wind blowing out. I know from Ronnie's experience, it's the first thing a pitcher looks at when he gets to the ballpark.
Even as a broadcaster, I still look at the wind, whether it's blowing in or out.
There was that good cutter by Lester to get ahead of the count.
This just eats up right-handed hitters. Starts right down the middle and ends up below your hands.
Lagares lays off that cutter, and it's 1-2. So you come to the ballpark and you're pitching that day and you see the wind blowing out. What impact does that have on how you approach your start?
Well, it's a good thing and a bad thing. First, the bad thing. Anything up in the air as Lagares strikes out on that ball in the dirt, Ross completes the play. The bad thing, obviously, anything up in the air has a chance going out of the ballpark. But when the wind is freshening in your face, means blowing out, it's that good slider there, not a cutter, that gets Lagares. When the wind is blowing into your face or out, it makes your breaking pitch more effective. You have more rotation, more spin on your breaking pitches.
Well, here's Mayberry, who was brought to the Mets to be a specialist against left-hand pitching, but it hasn't gone that way so far. Mayberry just 3 for 25, 3 for 20 against lefties. Takes a fastball strike for Lester. Mayberry has had 3 career at-bats against Lester, one of only 2 Mets in the lineup tonight, along with Michael Kadire, who's faced Lester before. And Lester quickly ahead 0-2. Let's see what Mayberry's done so far this year. Just not able to get on track with the small amount of duty he's had. This is only his 7th start.
Well, back-to-back days now. Neuenhuis yesterday and Mayberry in the lineup tonight.
Well, Neuenhuis made a big contribution in yesterday's game. Mayberry hits it right at the second baseman. Addison Russell throws him out, 2 away. So Lester has set down the first 2, and now Daniel Murphy. Well, yesterday, Murphy for the first time this year batted 3rd. A variety of circumstance led to that decision, and Murph picked up 3 hits. So Terry Collins figured that seemed like a good idea, and he left Murph in the 3-hole tonight.
It was interesting what Terry Collins said, though. He said, you know what? I'd put Murphy down in the lineup, thought he was going to drive in more runs. He hits better when he's up in the lineup. We've seen him mostly as a Mets second-place hitter, but now batting in the 3-hole.
And off to a slow start. It's got the average up to 232. Lester starts him off with a cutter. 0-1.
Also, Terry thought that Murph was being pitched around when he was batting 5th or 6th in the lineup.
And you see what he's done in this ballpark. He's hit for power here at Wrigley Field. 4 home runs in just 12 career starts. Just off the plate, 1-1. If you hit one to right field, there's nobody to catch the ball unless you hit it over the bleachers onto Sheffield Avenue. That'll be open sometime later this summer. Below the knees, 2-1 to Murph with Kadire on deck.
See David Ross, the veteran catcher, turn around to talk to home plate umpire Andy Fletcher, asking where that pitch was.
There's Kadire on deck. Ross has become Lester's personal catcher. They were together in Boston, and he's caught every one of Lester's starts this year. Tap past the mound. Starlin Castro there to grab it. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for John Lester to start the night. Jacob deGrom takes the mound to face the Cubs when we come back to Wrigley Field. That's right in the middle of the pack in runs scored in the National League. Anthony Rizzo has been by far their best hitter. He's having a terrific start to his season after a big year last year.
Well, you see the Jeep numbers for Jacob deGrom, 4-to-1 ratio with those Ks to walks, and he's given up 4 home runs. So keeping the ball in the ballpark here at Wrigley Field is always the challenge.
Especially with the wind blowing out as it is tonight. Dexter Fowler leads off, switch hitter, former Rocky and Astro. And he takes a strike from deGrom, 94 miles an hour to start him off. Fowler at 267. A good year with Houston last year. .375 on base percentage. This year at .341. He's become a very good leadoff hitter. DeGrom coming off 7 good innings against the Orioles his last time out. Gave up just 1 run, struck out 9 through 105 pitches in that start.
Houston could part with Fowler. See the defense, though, first behind DeGrom. Alexis Smith's defense. Kadire, Lagares, Mayberry Jr., Granderson getting the night off. Murphy, Flores, Herrera's back in the lineup, and Lucas Duda at first base with Plawecki behind the plate. I'm sure he has some family here.
Indiana kid. Well, there was an interesting conversation in Terry Collins' office today about Jacob deGrom and his secondary pitches. Threw a lot of changeups in his last start against the Orioles.
And Terry loves his breaking ball. He wishes he would throw his breaking ball more.
Runs that slider inside. And he hit Fowler with the pitch. And so the Cubs have a leadoff base runner.
So a changeup down and in, and then the fastball that misses. Hits him in the back knee. Issue with this Cubs team because they steal a lot of bases.
Well, now it's Chris Bryant, who's gotten so much attention this early season, not just for what he's done, but the fact that the Cubs did not bring him to the big leagues when the year began. But since then, his play has taken over the conversation. He's hit just 1 home run. He's a guy who's known as a home run hitter, but he's done so many other things well that he's really impressed people in his first 3 weeks in the big leagues. This was Saturday in Milwaukee, his first major league home run. He had 43 in the minor leagues last year in AA and AAA. And he tore up spring training in Arizona this year. But if you talk to people who watched him since he got to the big leagues, they're impressed by his plate discipline. They're impressed by his base running, by his hitting ability far beyond his ability to hit home runs.
His baseball intelligence, people will say, is off the charts also.
Ron behind 2-0 with the speedy Fowler at first. Cubs have been doing a lot of running. Grounded foul, 2-1.
What did Wally Backman tell Terry Collins about Chris Bryant?
Said he was the best looking hitting prospect he had ever seen.
Wow.
That covers a lot of territory.
It does.
Bryant, 23 years old. He was the 2nd overall pick by the Cubs out of the University of San Diego 2 years ago. He's walked a lot. He has struck out a lot in his early major league experience. In fact, despite missing the first 2 weeks of the year, he's in the top 10 in the National League in both walks and strikeouts.
And he socks one to deep left, and there'll be souvenirs for the folks in the new bleachers. Chris Bryant with his first Wrigley Field home run, a 2-run shot, and just like that, the Cubs are up 2-0. Well, that's what Cub fans have been waiting for. That's getting their first look at Bryant, and that was impressive.
Well, one thing that home run hitters share is that the sound, the ball, when it leaves the bat, is a different sound than other hitters.
Now Anthony Rizzo, a home run hitter in his own right, and he hits one to deep right field. Back goes Mayberry, and that's into the empty bleachers. Home runs on consecutive pitches by Bryant and Rizzo, and the Cubs have a 3-0 lead. 7th of the year for Rizzo. And deGrom shell-shocked early.
Oh, Rizzo slips as he comes across home plate. That's the only thing he did wrong in that time at bat. Bryant gets a fastball. It's supposed to be out, and it's up and in. Quick bat for a tall hitter.
Almost hit it over the bleachers and onto Waveland Avenue. Well, DeGrom's given up 6 home runs this year. 4 of the 6 now have come in the first innings of games. Giving up back-to-back home runs. Here's Rizzo.
And Rizzo is a great down fastball hitter. More established than the other young players, he and Castro. But a bomb there to right field.
Rizzo had 32 home runs last year. 11 of them came on the first pitch. And he attacked the first one against DeGrom and took it out of the ballpark. 2-1 to Jorge Soler. And the slider off the plate. Now it's 3-1. And a very rocky beginning for Jacob DeGrom.
Well, we've seen him now in a couple of his starts. Of course, when you give up home runs on back-to-back pitches, you're going to get a little frustrated out there.
And he walked Soler. That's the first time that DeGrom has walked a batter in the first inning this season. So he's faced 4, retired none, and he'll get a visit from Dan Warthen.
Well, you knew that Warthen had to go out there at some point. I mean, DeGrom, you could tell he just did not want to throw a strike to Soler. And a smile on his face as he comes out to talk to his young right-hander.
So he hit Fowler in the leg with a pitch. And Bryant and Rizzo hit back-to-back home runs. Now pitching carefully to Soler. He walks him. Still nobody out. And Starlin Castro coming up.
Well, I can tell you folks at home, pitching in this ballpark with the wind blowing out is a whole different experience when you're a young pitcher. You stand out there, you can feel it rushing, especially Jacob with all that hair, rushing through your cap. And it just feels like anyone at any time can hit a pop-up that'll go out. Although those two were not pop-ups.
So now it's Castro, the elder statesman of this young Cubs infield at age 25. And he takes curveball for a strike. Starlin Castro already in his 6th major league season. He has 881 hits at age 25. Back-to-back curveballs from DeGrom. That's what Terry Collins wanted to see, and he's ahead 0-2.
Well, what happens is that you get into the mode if you're a young pitcher coming out and just trying to power your way the first time through the lineup. Well, they've got a book on you after a while. When we saw him struggle against the Yankees, he did really the same thing he's done here in the first inning. Really, mostly fastballs, not mixing it up. Not changing speeds.
Chris Coughlin, the left fielder, waits on deck. DeGrom just trying to get an out. Ahead 1-2 on Castro. Towards short. Flores to Herrera. Dilson with a turn, and he throws it away. Stays in play, and Castro will stay at first base. So the Mets get the force on Soler for the first out, but can't turn the double play.
Well, Wilmer gets an in-between hop, and this should be a pretty easy turn for Herrera, but he doesn't throw it anywhere close. No runner on him. Easy turn, and almost threw it in the dugout.
Fortunate that that ball hit the sidewall, stayed in play rather than hopping into the photo box, which it easily could have. So no error on the play, but a double play not turned leaves a runner at first with 1 out. And now Chris Coughlin, the former National League Rookie of the Year. And he fouls one back. It's been a rough go for Coughlin. He's hitting just 189. And a good year with the Cubs last year, hit 283.
Always seems to have pretty good nights, though, against the Mets, doesn't he? In this uniform or when he was Rookie of the Year with the Marlins?
He was back in 2009, and he really had a lot of trouble living up to those Rookie of the Year credentials in the years that followed until he landed here last season. Castro at first and 1 out, and Coughlin takes a knee-high strike. 0-2. David Ross, the catcher, is on deck. The Cubs hit their pitcher 8th. Joe Maddon's been doing that all season, even with John Lester, who's never had a hit. It's hard to figure. Line right to Murphy. The throw back to first. Skips on by Duda. It bounces off the sidewall. Castro heading to second, and he'll make it safely. That's throwing the ball around on the infield in this first inning, which is not helping DeGrom's cause. He gets the second out, but Castro advances on Murphy's throwing error.
Well, I've seen a couple of throws by Murph from third base where he's really on his back leg. and not putting a lot into that throw, and that's why it came up short. And a tough play for Duda. I mean, remember, he comes off the base, he gets back to the base, and at the same time that ball's on its way, bouncing.
He almost, Duda, got a good bounce off the sidewall as it came off hard, but he had to go too far for it, and so Castro was able to make it easily. So a runner in scoring position with 2 out. Now David Ross, the well-traveled catcher, is going to get an intentional walk, and this is the danger of hitting your pitcher 8th, is that Ross will not get to swing the bat, and Lester, who's 0 for 50 in his career, will have to bat.
I mean, if there ever was a time that you had to walk the hitter before the pitcher, it's now.
So Ross, who has already had the experience of being a pitcher this year.
That's right. Pitched Milwaukee the other night, right?
Yeah. And a scoreless inning to boot.
I heard he was hitting 59 on the radar gun.
That's hard to do. That's throwing underhand. So, Terry Collins, a no-brainer there to walk Ross to get to Lester, who's hitting in the 8-hole. Lester 0 for 14 this year, 0 for 50 in his major league career. He spent his entire career in the American League until this season. Last year, traded from Boston to Oakland in July. It worked for a while for the A's, but not when they really needed it to.
Well, he had that 3-run lead late and wasn't able to hold it in the wild card game the last season, the play-in game.
Against Kansas City. Royals able to rally, win that game, and eventually get to the World Series.
So Lester doesn't like to throw to bases. He doesn't really like to field his position. Can't hit, but all he gives you is 200-plus innings, 30-plus starts, and 15 wins a year.
You'd have to say, though, that profiles more as an American League guy.
Yeah, right.
Ball to strike. Addison Russell is hitting 9th, as he has in every game since they called him up. Duda ranging wide to get it. DeGrom gets over to cover, and a nightmare first inning comes to an end for Jacob DeGrom. Chris Bryant introduces himself to the New York Mets in grand fashion. Anthony Rizzo next pitch. Mets have seen that before. 3-0 Cubs after 1. Well, we talked about the Cubs infield, all 425 or younger. 2 acquired in trades. 1 from the Dominican, an undrafted free agent. The other, the number 2 pick in the draft for Chris Bryant. Michael Kadire leads off in the second. Mets down 3-0. And John Lester gets ahead of him with a fastball. Dyer got the day off yesterday. He's hit in 4 straight games, trying to get his season untracked, hitting at .248. Dyer, Duda, and Flores try and fight back for the Mets in the second.
Gary, with this young infield and Syndergaard pitching tomorrow, we were noticing that almost every big columnist in the United States is here to document his homestand for the Cubs against the Mets.
Well, we talked about it in the open tonight, and I think it really bears repeating. There's a good curveball by Lester to strike out Dyer, his second strikeout. These are 2 franchises that are on the rise.
Well, good breaking ball. We saw one against Juan Lagares in the dirt. That one more over the middle of the plate, but still great downward tilt.
And, you know, if things go for the Mets and Cubs the way people running those franchise hope, might be some October meetings between these 2 teams. And this is the very first time that they're getting together with a lot more of the pieces in place that they're hoping will be part of their successful future.
And 2 organizations that have really scuffled in the last half dozen years, you know.
That's a 6 straight losing season. The Cubs 5 straight. The Cubs won 73 games last year. The Mets won 79. 1-1 to Duda. Lucas 2 hits yesterday in Philadelphia when the Mets rang out a season high 14 hits, hoping that will get their offense going. Wilmer Flores also had a couple of hits in that game against the Phillies. Duda hitting .379 against lefties this year. Takes a curveball for a strike. Even yesterday when he made an out against a lefty, it was a hard out. A liner to left field against Elvis Araujo.
Yeah, right to Darren Ruff. Didn't have to move.
Lester ahead of him 1-2. Fouls off that cutter.
It's really interesting to watch both these pitchers go about their business. DeGrom at a more frenetic pace, and Lester just steady. Standing heart rate of about 30 or 40 maybe for Lester.
Well, in Lester, the Cubs not only acquired a pitcher who's been very successful, but a guy who's done it on the biggest stage. And he had an extraordinary postseason for the Red Sox when they won it 2 years ago. 5 postseason starts in 2013. He was 4-1 with a 1.56 ERA. Of course, he's got 2 World Series rings from his time with Boston. And he strikes out Duda. Back-to-back strikeouts for Lester to start the second. He's retired the first 5.
This is more of that cutter slider. Just stays on that outside corner. Good pitch.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Wilmer Flores.
Thinking that Lester had the best postseason, maybe left-handed starting pitcher until last year.
Right. He might have gotten outflanked a tad by Madison Bumgarner. It's on the inside corner to Flores. 0-2. Well, that will win you a lot of notoriety in the game when you pitch that well in the World Series.
And make you very popular in Boston.
Forever.
Forever. Even signing here.
I mean, even if he had never done what he did in 2013, just the way he was able to come back from cancer to pitch as well as he did in that 07 World Series was a phenomenal story, not only in Boston, but just a great human story. And what are the odds that the Cubs have 2 players who started out in the Red Sox organization, both of whom overcame cancer, and both of whom are now with Theo Epstein here with the Cubs, Anthony Rizzo being the other one. They both had lymphoma, different types. Full count now to Flores. Lester overcame classic Hodgkin's lymphoma and Rizzo non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. would imagine. Lester was 22, Rizzo was 18 when they were diagnosed. And here they are. Good swing by Flores, still 3-2. But it's interesting, isn't it, that the general manager who drafted those two players winds up with both of them playing for his new franchise?
They both share some of the same qualities, and one being just outstanding humans, just great guys.
Flores works out a walk, a terrific turn at bat for Wilmer, and the Mets have their first base runner of the day.
Worked that walk after being down 0-2 in the count.
So now Kevin Plawecki bats with a man on, and now Lester will pitch from the stretch for the first time, and this is the one real crimp in Lester's game, and whether the Mets can take advantage of it, we'll wait and see.
Well, he doesn't throw to first base. Just does not like to do it, so he won't do it. So you can take just about as far a lead as you want. Matt Carpenter for the Cardinals was taking a lead about 20 feet off first, and Lester still wouldn't throw over.
Flores took a larger than normal lead, but his first step was back toward first base. 1-0 to Plawecki.
Unlike the weekend series, this crew has a very tight strike zone, all four of them.
Andy Fletcher, the home plate umpire tonight. And Plawecki takes a strike.
I always keep a book on the umpires throughout the season, and this crew is one that I've always put a check mark by because they're very stingy calling strikes.
Combine stingy strike callers and the wind blowing out. It's a bad pitcher's formula. Moving sound like. Plawecki ignores 2-1. And on that cue, there is your crew. The crew chief, Jerry Meals, working at first base. He'll have the plate for Noah Syndergaard's debut tomorrow. Paul Emmel and Jordan Baker. Baker, the youngest of the quartet. Plawecki got a day off yesterday. Anthony Recker caught. Plawecki's been on base 8 straight games now. And he loops one on the right side. Rizzo back to grab it, and that retires the side. A walk and one left. Jacob deGrom hoping to do better in the second. Mets down 3-0. Bustling down by the Chicago River in the loop.
They dye that green, don't they, on St. Patrick's Day?
St. Patrick's Day every year, if it's not frozen. Addison Russell leads off the home second. Russell hitting 9th in the order, the 21-year-old. Number 11 overall pick in the draft in 2012 by Oakland. Traded last summer in the deal that sent Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill to Oakland, and then Hamill came back to the Cubs as a free agent. So it's all worked out well for Chicago. Russell, a shortstop his whole life, now playing second base, and DeGrom throws a good slider.
Career 300 hitter in the minor leagues. See that 301 average. His bat plays.
Had a 12-game hitting streak until it was stopped yesterday in Milwaukee. I think Elias looked, and because he's batting 9th in the order, they found it had been over 70 years since anybody had a 12-game hitting streak in the number 9 spot in the order. Not too many pitchers over the years have done that, and not too many position players have hit 9. Well, with Russell and Starlin Castro and Javier Baez, who was up last year, the Cubs have a wealth of shortstop talent, and they've had to be creative about how to use it. They played Baez at second base last year when he was up. They're playing Russell at second base now. Dexter Fowler on deck. And it has certainly led to an inordinate amount of speculation about whether the Mets and the Cubs, who lack for as much pitching depth as the Mets, might be natural trading partners.
But you can really see that the Mets' depth in their pitching has really been something they needed this year, losing Edgin and Wheeler.
It's Theo Epstein, the Cubs president. Ninth pitch of the at bat, and Russell pops it up. Herrera out. Lagares calling. 1 out. Well, the wind really blew that ball out. When that first went up, it looked like it might be Dilson's ball, and he did well to follow it, but it just kept on going.
It did keep on going. Lagares made an easy catch. But what I found very interesting after the play is made, and Dilson, you know what? In Wrigley, you always want to stay with it. You never know when someone's going to lose it. Addison Russell didn't run hard from home. That's very interesting for a young player. Here, anytime you hit a pop-up, you've got to go hard because it could always fall in.
Well, I would imagine, knowing Joe Madden as we do, that will be commented upon.
I mean, that's just unacceptable at any time, but certainly when you're a rookie. If that ball would have dropped in, he would have been embarrassed.
So is Rizzo saying, should I say something, or do you want to say something? I mean, Rizzo at a very young age has become a real leader on this Chicago team. 2-1 to Fowler, who was hit by a pitch his first time up.
You know, that really is what I wanted to say before I said they're good people, Lester and Rizzo. They're also good leaders, tremendous leaders.
And DeGrom misses away and falls behind 3-1 on Fowler. DeGrom just not sharp tonight. He's already walked a couple, hit a batter. Behind on Fowler, 3-1. And he walks in. So, third walk of the night already for DeGrom after an inning and a third. It's Tom Ricketts, the principal owner of the Cubs. Ricketts family undergoing all this renovation at venerable Wrigley Field, trying to strike the balance between the history in the place and the need to upgrade the facility.
You just love it, though. Don't you see the owner out there? If you're a Cubs fan, you want to be in the bleachers tonight. He's always been a Cubs fan, even before he bought the team.
Fowler runs, and Bryant fouls it back. Very interesting that they'd have Fowler on the move with Bryant at the plate on a night when the wind is blowing out.
You know, they steal bases. That's what they do. 29 coming into this game, almost won a game for the Cubbies. So that's a big part of Fowler's game.
Fowler with 8 steals this year. He had only 11 all last year in Houston, so a real difference in philosophy. Bryant hit one out of sight his first time up, a 2-run shot, his second big league home run, and his first at Wrigley Field. DeGrom throws one by him, 0-2.
It's interesting. For a big man, he's got a tremendously short swing. I mean, just throws those hands at the ball. Most tall men have longer swings. He does not.
He's got long arms, so it's hard to have a short swing when you have long arms. Fantastic profile of Bryant done today in the New York Times by Tyler Kepner. Bryant's dad, Tyler points out, was a minor league player in the Red Sox organization and got taught by Ted Williams. Taught primarily to hit the ball in the air. And Chris Bryant says, my goal every night, taught by his father, who was taught by Ted Williams, is to hit 4 balls in the air and see what happens.
Well, you can do that when you have the kind of power he has.
Fowler at first and 1 out. He's running. Pitch outside. Plawecki's throw. Dilson Herrera with the tag, and he got him. So Plawecki, who's had trouble throwing people out that time, got it there quickly, and Fowler is gunned down. 2 out.
Well, a good pitch to throw on just off the plate. He got rid of it extremely quickly. Not a great jump for Fowler, and a quick, nice tag by Herrera. Dragging that left leg over the bag, and he just got him on the elbow before his hand got in there.
So that helps out DeGrom. Gets him the 2nd out of the inning. 2-2 to Bryant. Anthony Rizzo would be next. Bryant watches outside. Full count.
You know, Plawecki, they have just made his throw. I saw him when he first came to the Mets. He had a longer arm action. Now he just brings it right to his ear and gets rid of it as quick as he can. You know, some guys, we've seen d'Arnaud, methodical in the way he throws. Not Plawecki.
DeGrom strikes out Bryant with a curveball, his first strikeout of the night. We go to the 3rd at Wrigley, 3-0 Cubs. Third inning is presented by your local tri-state Audi dealers in the uncompromised Audi A3 sedan. Dilson Herrera leads off the 3rd inning for New York against John Lester and pulls one foul. Herrera a day off yesterday. Ruben Tejada played second base, but Dilson had himself a nice week. 5 for his last 10, including a home run. Making his 8th start since being called up. Jacob DeGrom on deck, and then Juan Lagares for the Mets in the 3rd, looking for their first hit against Lester. It's a good cutter, and it's 1-2.
In fact, Terry Collins thought about batting DeGrom in the 8th slot in tonight's game, except the left-handed Lester.
Well, it didn't dissuade Joe Madden from hitting Lester 8th.
That's right.
He's 0 for 51. Yeah, the whole philosophy of hitting the pitcher 8th has something to do with the hitter's ability, the pitcher's ability to hit. Probably more to do with trying to get more RBI opportunities for the guys at the top of the order.
Addison Russell serving as another leadoff hitter.
Big curveball by Lester to strike out Herrera, and that's 4 strikeouts for Lester through the first 8 batters.
Well, the 4 strikeouts and 3 of them have come on the curveball. This one down and in to Herrera.
You hear about back foot sliders less often. Do you see back foot curveballs?
When I played, I remember Steve Carlton was the first guy that I had seen who could perfect that backdoor slider. But even Carlton's was pretty big. It wasn't a tight slider. It was more of a slurve. And that's what Lester has.
DeGrom 1 for 12 at the plate this season. Castro right near the bag. And he throws him out easily, 2 away.
I mean, if you want to teach your young left-hander the mechanics of pitching, just get some tape on John Lester. Not a lot of moving parts, that high leg kick. And you see that foot open up at the bottom, point straight to the plate. And that big barrel chest kind of thrown at the plate. That's where he gets a lot of his velocity.
You do it well enough, you can earn $155 million for 6 years, as Lester has. Free agent deal he signed with the Cubs. Lagares struck out his first time up. On just 2 for his last 24. Had that big home run Saturday in Philadelphia, but consistency lacking right now.
What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to lay off the ball inside. It started with a fastball in, a cutter underneath his bat, another one at his back foot, and then that curveball down in the dirt. You have to lay off bad pitches from Lester, but it's hard because he usually is working 0-2, 1-2 in the count.
And really with Lagares, that's the bottom line. If he can, I mean, he's had some success going outside the strike zone, but once you do that, they're going to go further outside the zone. So it's all about selectivity.
I mean, when he swings at strikes, you know, he hits over a 300 clip. Kevin Long knows that, of course.
And Juan had some early success and success going out of the strike zone to get hits, and sometimes that can be fool's gold. He lays off the curveball, and it's 2-2.
Well, yeah, you're right, Gary, because it works against him sometimes because he'll be rewarded for swinging at bad pitches. So he'll continue to do it as opposed to do what he did the other day in Philadelphia.
And if you're a pitcher and you see him going out of the strike zone, you're just going to go further out of the strike zone and make him chase that much more. 2-2 coming. And he lays off that one. And it's a full count.
That's 2 or 3 times that Lester has been angry at himself. There's his ball strikes. He was really angry that he did not make that pitch. He was angry that he walked Flores in the second inning.
Second full count of the night, and Lagares drills one down the line. Foul.
Well, this is what he does when the ball is in the strike zone. He'll hit something hard somewhere. That one just foul.
Well, we saw Saturday night, you know, what he's capable of in terms of his raw ability and his power. We haven't seen it a lot in games. He's only hit 9 major league home runs, but the one he hit in Philadelphia was, you know, it was major league in every respect. And he'll do more of that as his career goes along. And he walks here to give the Mets a 2-out base runner. So a rare walk for Lagares, and the Mets draw their second walk from Lester.
Those are his numbers from last year. Ended up 16-11 on the season, but a great ERA.
It's been 7 straight years he's been able to make 31 or more starts. So here's Mayberry, who grounded out to second base his first time up. Now 0 for his last 16. Well, if you're going to be successful on a night when the wind is blowing out at Wrigley, what's the best thing to do? Don't let them hit the ball out of the infield. And the Mets have yet to hit a ball out of the infield. Mayberry does, hits it out to left. Coughlin chasing it back in the gap, and he makes a nice running catch. Well, by far the best hit ball by a Met tonight, but Coughlin was equal to it. Right on the heel of the glove, much to the delight of John Lester. Middle of the third at Wrigley. Cubs 3, Mets nothing. In 1914, they celebrated the 100th anniversary last year, and they've continued to enhance it as the years went along. Mets were part of the first night game here in 1988.
Sid Fernandez started for the Mets.
And now the video boards and the new bleachers this year. Anthony Rizzo leading off in the home third. Rizzo crushed the first pitch he saw into the not yet fully constructed right field bleachers for his 7th home run.
Just down middle. What a shot that was. A little slip across home.
Look at that. First pitch swings 8 for 10 with 2 home runs this year. Won't make it too fat. Rounded down to Duda, and he'll take it himself to retire Rizzo 1 away. DeGrom still trying to figure it out. 49 pitches in the first 2 innings.
It's hard to last late in the game when you have that. You have to have some easier innings.
Gave up home runs on back-to-back pitches to Bryant and Rizzo in the first inning. He's retired them both second time around. Here's Jorge Soler, who walked his first time up. Soler, who signed a deal when he came out of Cuba, spent some time in the minor leagues the last couple of years. Much to his dismay, he expected to be brought right to the big leagues when he first signed. He's got monstrous power as well.
When I see his playing right field and his body, he reminds me of young Andre Dawson,
who won an MVP playing at Wrigley Field. That was when in the days of collusion in 1987, and Andre Dawson had played in Montreal on the AstroTurf, and his knees were so bad he knew he had to play on grass. And at that time, there weren't that many grass fields in the National League. And he basically said to the Cubs, I will sign a blank contract. You fill in the number. So they signed him for $500,000, and all he did was win the MVP for a last-place team. Mayberry comes in. The wind kept blowing that ball away from Herrera for the second out.
Herrera's tried to call these plays, but they are not ending up near him. See, he's calling it off, but Mayberry called him off and made the easy play.
Welcome to Wrigley Field, Dilson. Yeah. Tomorrow the wind will be blowing the other direction, and you'll be running in toward the mound. Really amazing how this ballpark plays like 2 completely different parts, depending on the wind. Here's Starlin Castro. Castro hit into a fielder's choice his first time up. Rom has already walked 3 tonight. He falls behind on Castro, who is a notoriously free swinger, 3-0. Right at Flores. And he throws out Castro to end the inning. When we come back, Steve Gelbs with Cubs great Billy Williams. After 3 at Wrigley, 3-0 Chicago. Daniel Murphy leads off the 4th inning for New York and takes ball 1 from John Lester. Murphy grounded out his first time up. It'll be Murphy, Kadire, and Duda for the Mets in the 4th, trailing 3-0, looking for their first hit. Murphy takes a strike, and we check in with Steve Gelbs. Steve?
Gary, pretty special treat right here, standing with Billy Williams, Hall of Famer, one of the great Cubs of all time. And Billy, saw you out there on the field today. You still come out to many Cubs games. What keeps you coming back even at age 76?
I do, Steve. I like to see a good baseball game. And, of course, I spend a lot of time with these guys out in spring training. I've only missed 1 spring training since I've been in baseball. And when I go out there, I feel real good around the ball players. And so it's just a great time to be out in Arizona and just see some good baseball. You get a chance to see not only our team, but there's a lot of teams training in Arizona now. So they leave in Florida, come into Arizona.
They called you sweet swinging, Billy Williams. What do you think about some of the sweet swings of these youngsters on the Cubs now?
Oh, we got a bunch of young guys that are going to be good in the future. You know, Rizzo swinging a good bat now. I mean, I saw him in batting practice. He was hitting every ball on the nose. And, of course, Chris Bryant, he hit his first home run the other day, and he hit one tonight. So it looked like they're going to come in bunches because that's expected of him because he's a good ball player. He's been a great, outstanding player in college. And we know he's going to do well. He did well in the minor league, so we know he's going to do well here.
Billy, you were a teammate of Ernie Banks's for, I believe, parts of 13 seasons.
Yes.
Very tough offseason for the Cubs family, losing Ernie Banks. What did he mean to you and to this organization and to this city?
Well, first of all, he came to the Cubs in 1953, and he meant a lot for the organization, guys. The people who come out to have seen him play and enjoyed his play out here. And, of course, as a teammate, rooming together for like 2.5 weeks, and of course being together for many nights and days, going out to dinner, just talking baseball. I know that he was the most positive guy I've ever seen. and we talked baseball. We really enjoyed the game, and you know, coming from South Side to you know, the North Side, riding together, carpooling, we had a lot of conversations coming down Lakeshore Drive, and they were enjoyable. I got a chance to spend a lot of time with his family, and he got a chance to spend a lot of time with my family, and he gonna sorely be missed by myself and my family and a lot of people here of the Chicago family.
Bill, you mentioned rooming with him for a short time, and you did his eulogy, and you mentioned it then as well. That I think you said 2.5 months, was it?
Yeah,
but then you had to get out of there.
That's about it. And you know, Ernie, after I got all the information, how the Cubs, how the people pitch him, and how they pitch, what they throw in the major league, and I said that's enough. But you know, we spent a lot of time after then together. I spent a lot of time when I first went to spring training with him, and we just enjoyed the game of baseball. But I had to get out of the room because there are times, you know, we didn't go to bed till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had this little streak going. You know, I had this little streak playing, and I wanted to be
the Iron Man streak.
Day, yeah. But you know, he could stay up all night, and the next day he jolly because the guys on the other ball club used to ask me, is he always like this? And I said, from the minute he wake up in the morning until he go to bed at night. And that's the way he was. And as I say, he was one of the most positive person I've ever met.
Sometimes his mouth got you in trouble a little bit, though, with opposing pitchers, namely Bob Gibson, right?
Well, when Ernie was coaching, you know, I mentioned this at the eulogy, you know, at Ernie's funeral. And when Ernie was coaching, and all the pitchers coming around, Marshall and, you know, all of the you know, and when Gibson, the Cardinals used to come in, it's always been a big rivalry playing the Cardinals. And, of course, Ernie was coaching, and they always say when Gibson come in, say, Billy going to hit a home run off you. And I always tell him, I say, Ernie, leave him alone. He's already mean. He's already a mean guy. So don't bother him. Let him pitch, you know. And we had fun with that many years, and that's where Ernie was. Talked to the first baseman. They always had great conversation down there. And as I say, he was one of the guys that enjoyed the game of baseball, enjoyed people. I think everybody he'd come in contact with here in Chicago, I think they and he still remember.
Well, Billy, we appreciate the time. We appreciate you sharing the memories, and hopefully the Cubs, maybe not this series against the Mets, but hopefully they do some winning for Ernie Banks.
Well, let's get it back as a rivalry a long time ago when I had my two high school fellows, Cleon Jones and Tommy Agee. And I used to invite them over to dinner, you know, when they come to Chicago. So they wind up winning that year, of course, 1969. I still feel bad about that. But, you know, we had a lot of fun. And, of course, at one time, the Mets could have had 3 guys. I think they did. Amos Otis, Cleon Jones, and Tommy Agee in the outfield. That tells you that's some great baseball players in Mobile.
Absolutely. Appreciate the time, Billy.
Real good, Steve. Thank you.
Gary?
The great Billy Williams, who kind of operated in Ernie Banks' shadow. This dude had just picked up the Mets' first hit of the night. Billy was a great player, but as Billy mentioned, Ernie could talk and drew most of the attention. Right. They're both great Hall of Fame players. But, you know, Billy mentioned his streak. He played in 1,117 straight games at one point, which I believe is still the National League record.
Past the mound, right to the bag. Russell with the step and gets the out. A little confusion there between Russell and Castro after Lester intentionally let that ball get by him because he did not want to pick it up and throw to a base.
Exactly. And right here, Russell wanted to exchange with Castro, then decided to just step on the base himself. Major confusion with the young infielders. I mean, just olayed it up the middle. I've never seen that before, ever.
That's a pitcher who does not want to throw to a base and figured he'd leave it to his middle infielders, but his middle infielders got a little befuddled.
I've seen it when the ball's to your right or left, letting it go because you know where your infielders are, but not right through the box.
So first and third and 2 out. Kevin Plawecki the batter, and he takes outside from Lester. So the inning able to continue as the Cubs failed to turn a double play. Dyer at third, Flores at first. Plawecki the tying run at the plate in a 3-0 game. He popped up his first time up. Billy Williams, 2,700 plus hits, 426 home runs. He was lethal
almost
in the middle of that line.
1,500 RBIs almost. I didn't know this till right now. I didn't know that he finished second twice to Johnny Bench in the MVP votes in 70 and 72.
Up the middle for Plawecki. He's got a base hit. That'll bring in the Mets' first run of the night. Kadire comes in to score. It's an RBI single for Kevin Plawecki. His 7th run batted in. It's now 3-1 Chicago.
Well, you never want to walk hitters here at Wrigley Field, and Lester walked Kadire, and it cost him. Ball back up the middle, gets by him, and the double play that was not turned earlier comes back to haunt Lester and the Cubs.
So the Purdue product back in Big Ten country delivers an RBI single. Mets have the tying runs aboard. Dilson Herrera the batter. Herrera struck out on a curveball his first time up. So the Mets, after failing to get a hit through the first 3 innings against Lester, have a couple here in the 4th after Lester opened the door with the walk to Kadire. Defense has not been stellar for the Cubs so far this year. They lead the National League in errors. And now Lester behind Herrera 2-0. Flores at second. Plawecki the tying run at first with 2 out.
Lester a little off this inning. Let's see if the Mets can take advantage.
Got DeGrom on deck. It's behind on Herrera 2-0. And Dilson pounds one foul. Well, there are the career home run leaders for the Cubs. Hall of Famers all except the guy at the top, who probably never will be.
That's right.
Such is our game. 2-1 coming, and Herrera socks one to center field. Fowler drifting back though, and he gets there to retire the side. Mets get a run on Plawecki's RBI single. Here's the sweet swinging Billy Williams from Whistler, Alabama. His buddy Ernie Banks, who passed away in January, and the Cubs are dedicating their season to the man they called Mr. Cub. This was the funeral procession back in January, going past Wrigley Field.
Chris Coghlan leading off for the Cubs in the bottom of the fourth. Cubs with a 3-1 lead. Jacob deGrom settling in the last inning or so after a very rough first, and the changeup line over short, a base hit. So Coghlan has the Cubs' third hit, leading off in the home fourth. Ernie Banks was much beloved in this town.
Well, I got to spend some time with Ernie on many occasions, and he was, as Billy said, just Mr. Sunshine whenever you're around him. It's interesting as teams are losing their players that have been just fantastic people, you know. Stan the Man in St. Louis.
Ross tries to get a bunt down. deGrom quickly off the mound. And Duda with good footwork. He's safe. Must have said that Duda came off the bag. Jerry Meals, the first base umpire. And we'll see whether the Mets have enough evidence to review this one.
I think what Meals saw was that in Duda trying to switch feet to catch the ball, he was in the air when he caught it, although it looks like he scraped that foot across the bag. He has it outside of the bag. Does he scrape it across the top? Yes.
Yep.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, Mets will get this overturned. Wow. And here comes Terry Collins, and he signals for a review.
That's funny. Terry put his hands on his ears. Headphone time. Headset time.
What is it about the plays at first base? Night after night after night, we see umpires get calls at first base wrong.
Total waste of time. Also, when you think of this play, it should have been an easy play to call. I mean, Duda's switching his feet. He may not be in the bag there, but he does what you're supposed to do: scrape it across the top. It doesn't get any more obvious than that. He's wiping the dirt off the bag as he's swiping it.
And I don't know what's going on here. Terry asked for the review. Here comes the gym bag, and we'll have the review. I don't know what the umpires were waiting for. Play under review brought to you by Mazda. So that's an odd play by David Ross. Obviously, he's trying to bunt for a hit there. You've got the pitcher coming up next. But if you're not successful in bunting for a hit, now you got a runner at second and one out. And you got John Lester, who's 0 for 51 coming up.
Well, it's a bad play any way you look at it. I understand it. Like, if you're gonna, you got to be successful. They do call him out, but I think it's a bad play by Ross.
I certainly hope the official scorer does not give him credit for a sacrifice, because that was obviously not his intent. The fans here are booing the fact that the play was overturned, but it was pretty obvious from the first replay that he was out. So it'll go as a 1-3 putout. And they gave him a sacrifice, Ronnie.
Yeah, that's a joke.
Could you go yell at somebody?
I have no problem yelling at anyone. I got a lot of pent up anger today.
Come on. You got the pitcher coming up next. He's obviously not sacrificing.
That's why I think it's a doubly selfish play by Ross. He should be swinging the bat on a night when the wind's blowing out. And two, a lot of these hitters will try to bunt for a base hit because they know that the official scorer is going to give them a sacrifice.
Terrible. Just terrible scoring. Lester takes a pretty good rip and fouls one back.
Hard to believe he's 0 for 51. That was a good swing. I'm putting it down, but reluctantly in my score.
Under protest? Sack under protest. Lester swinging at the high fastball, and it's 0-2. A lot of zeros.
Right.
Now, if he were to get a hit, it would be 1 for 52. Can you figure that out in your head? Somewhere in the 018 range, I think. deGrom trying to dispose of Lester with Addison Russell on deck. And he got him. 3 pitches. All that's required. Second strikeout for deGrom. 2 out in the inning. Tomorrow, get a preview of Noah Syndergaard's Major League debut here in Chicago, plus all the latest from the Rangers as they get ready for Game 7 Wednesday at the Garden. On Daily News Live, presented by Citi, tomorrow at 5, only on SNY. So 2 out. Coghlan still at second, and here is Addison Russell, who flied to center on the 9th pitch of the at-bat against DeGrom his first time up. And Russell socks one to right, and that's going to fall for a hit, and that'll bring in a run. Coghlan comes in to score. Addison Russell with an RBI single, and the Cubs now lead 4-1. Russell's 8th run batted in.
Somehow, some way in this inning, the David Ross sacrifice was going to come back to haunt the Mets as Addison Russell dumps this one into right field.
So Ross gets congratulated now.
No, come on.
So a run home for the Cubs after the Mets put a run on the board in the last half inning. And now Dexter Fowler, who's been on board twice. He's been hit by a pitch and drawn a walk, scored a run, and also been caught stealing.
Okay, so for you folks at home, you love watching DeGrom pitch, and you're trying to figure out how come he's not as successful as he was last year. Well, the one thing that he had last year that he's lost a little bit is that he had fastball command down in the strike zone. Anytime he wanted to, he could throw it on the corners, inside and outside, down. He has not had that this season yet. And I know he's trying to mix in other pitches. That's important. But everything comes off of fastball command. Ask Bartolo Colon.
So how do you work on that if it's something that you've had and you've temporarily misplaced it?
Well, I think there's two things to work here. One, mechanically, he's flying open with his shoulder a little bit, and that's something I'm sure that they can fix, and that Danny will talk to him in between innings or the next time he throws on the side.
Line the other way, and a base hit for Fowler. So he's on base for the 3rd time tonight, and the inning continues for Chris Bryant. 3rd hit in the inning off DeGrom.
Well, you get behind, you got to throw a fastball over the meat of the dish, and Fowler very quick. That ball's middle. And to me, the other thing that is at work here is that sometimes when you work on other pitches, 4-seam fastball he worked on in spring training, curveball, changeup, you have to make sure that while you're working with those pitches, that you always retain the most important pitch in your arsenal, and that is the pitch down on the knees. That's where he has to live if he's going to be successful, and all the other stuff comes off that. Well, he has just lost that in the beginning of the year here.
Well, a huge batter coming up here for DeGrom. He's already down 4-1 in this game. He's got John Lester on the other side, and he's got Chris Bryant stepping into the batter's box, who hit one almost out of Wrigley Field his first time up tonight.
The sound that the ball made coming off the bat.
TNT.
A little frightening.
DeGrom struck him out in a curveball his 2nd time up. Bryant 1 for 2 on the night. The T-Mobile game changer. Well, Bryant's only been in the big leagues for 3 weeks, and he's already tied for the National League lead among rookies in RBIs with Jock Peterson, who's been awfully impressive in his own right. Pickoff try. Getting back safely is Russell.
You see with Herrera at second base, a lot more of those pickoff attempts, and you're going to do it if DeGrom's on the mound. He's your best athlete.
Russell at second, Fowler at first, both run well. DeGrom keeping it away from Bryant, a ball and a strike.
don't have fastball command. You end up having to throw your third and fourth pitch when you're behind in the count. Not a recipe for success.
Well, particularly when you've got Anthony Rizzo standing on deck. So you may be jumping out of the frying pan and into the fire. That's going to get the bullpen cranked up as DeGrom continues to struggle. 2-1 to Bryant. Is persistent. And now it's 2-2.
Well, when you get a tall hitter, his Achilles heel is going to be down in the way. But this, you can't even call that. It's a perfect pitch by DeGrom. No one hits that pitch.
So Robles will begin to warm up in the Mets bullpen. 2 on, 2 out, 2-2 to Bryant.
The other thing about Bryant that I've been told is that you said he likes to hit 4 fly balls. He doesn't care where he hits them. He wants to work. He'll hit balls out to right field, right center, center, and left.
Line to line power. Russell at second, Fowler at first with 2 out. 76 pitches already with 2 out in the fourth for DeGrom. Again, the 2-2 off the plate, full count. A little extra on that fastball, 97 miles an hour. Now the runners will be in motion. Russell and Fowler get set to take off. 3-2 coming to Bryant. Came inside with a curveball and he fouled it off. That's how he struck him out the last time.
Good job by Bryant of fouling off this pitch. I don't know if it was the curve or the changeup, Gary, but either one. Secondary pitch there on the 3-2 count. You go back to that little tight cutter slider he threw earlier in the at-bat.
8th pitch of the at-bat coming to Bryant. He walked him below the bases. 4th walk of the night issued by Jacob DeGrom. And now Anthony Rizzo with the bases loaded.
Well, his second at-bat, he had a home run on the first pitch in his first at-bat. Sliders down for 2-0, and then a fastball right there, and another, then followed by the changeup. So Rizzo missed the fastball that he usually doesn't, and DeGrom countered with a changeup and got the ground out.
So now Rizzo bats with the bases loaded and 2 out. Russell at third, Fowler at second, Bryant at first. Rizzo homered his first time up tonight, grounded out in the third, 1 for 2. He is just not trusting his fastball right now.
Can't throw it where he wants to. And this is against left-handers. Last season 224, this season off the charts.
And now behind on Rizzo, 2-0. You have to figure this is going to be DeGrom's last batter if you can't get Rizzo out. You got the right-hand hitting Soler on deck. Robles getting ready in the bullpen.
Well, you would have to think that DeGrom's going to throw it hard and Rizzo's going to swing at it hard.
Behind 2-0. And there's a strike. 2-1.
Half that right. Good pitch, though, at least in middle, but it was down in the strike zone.
Going to struggle all night for DeGrom. And he gets even on Rizzo.
That was his best changeup of the night. 2-1 changeup, starts inside and darts over the middle of the plate. Standing.
Now the 2-2. Lashes the fastball foul. Last 2 seasons, Anthony Rizzo just 1 for 11 with the bases loaded. 32 home runs, only 78 RBIs last year. I'll tell you why. Cash in those bundles. Again, the 2-2. Back to DeGrom. And he gets
Rizzo to limit the damage in the fourth. The Cubs leave them loaded after they get themselves a run on Russell's 2-out hit. 4-1 Chicago after 4. Since 1950, who were the only 2 Hall of Famers to play in 2,000 games, but not in the postseason. We've mentioned one of them tonight. That's right. Jacob deGrom will stand in bat for himself as we start the 5th inning. After working his way out of a huge mess in the last half inning. Fell behind Rizzo 2-0 with the bases loaded. Came back to get him on the comebacker. That kept him in the game. Lester quickly ahead 0-2.
The only issue with deGrom, because of the pitch count, probably only get one more inning out of him.
Jacob grounded out to short his first time up. That's going to walk and a couple of hits to fashion a run in the fourth. Robles, who was up, has sat down. And deGrom slaps one to the left side. Bryant ranging wide. The spinorama and a high throw. It stays in play, and deGrom is safe at first. Well, Bryant, as most third basemen are taught, go after everything that you can.
They got him for 5 errors this year.
That's going to be scored a base hit.
No base hit there. I mean, a good throw gets deGrom at first base, right?
Probably so. So the Mets have a leadoff base runner. deGrom's second hit of the season. Now Juan Lagares, who has struck out and walked tonight. It's the Mets' third hit against John Lester. He runs one inside to Lagares.
The one thing you can take is that the Mets have gotten off to a bad start, obviously, here. But Lester is not John Lester tonight. He is off also. So maybe an infield hit and a blast gets you right back in the game.
Well, the other piece of that is that the Cubs bullpen has really struggled. Their closer Hector Rondon has done fine, but leading up to Rondon has been an issue for Joe Madden. He's got 13 pitchers, so he's got an extra arm in his bullpen, still trying to figure out the right combinations.
Would you say 13 pitchers, 3 catchers on the roster?
I've never seen that before. So he's really got 2 non-catching reserves. Hit hard to short, should be 2. Castro to Russell. Tough play for Russell, but he makes the turn, not in time. Castro with a poor throw, and that cost the Cubs the double play.
Well, you can see why the Cubs have had a lot of errors. Just not a good play there by Castro, who's a veteran in that infield. A little better toss, and Russell turns that over easily. In fact, that was a good play by Russell to even get the force out.
going to be very interesting to see what the Cubs do at shortstop. They've obviously got a lot of guys who can play there. And Castro, he's a nice player in certain respects, but he's been a little indifferent in other ways.
He's an offensive player.
Here's Mayberry. Goes a curveball for a strike. John hit the ball hard his last time up. A drive to deep left center that Coghlan ran down, but Mayberry 0 for 2 tonight, and now 0 for his last 17. I mean, Russell is also considered a better offensive than defensive player. There goes Lagares. The throw by Ross into the runner, and Lagares steals the base, his second of the year. Well, the first time the Mets have taken a liberty on John Lester, who has such notorious problems holding runners on.
Well, you know it's a problem when you're down 3 runs and you're still running. And good job by Lagares. You know what's interesting is that Madden could almost check this play or review it. Watch where the glove goes when he catches it. Well, maybe he didn't. I thought he scraped him on the backside, but he did not.
1-1 to Mayberry, with Lagares now in scoring position and 1 out. That's away.
There's the glove by Addison Russell. Fine play to get to it. Tries to get. He did drop the ball, though. It wouldn't matter. Two to Mayberry. Well, Terry Collins was asked about running on Lester before the game. He said, we're not going to be running. We don't have those guys. So Lagares is that one guy who certainly showed during a stretch last year that he can steal a base. But you would think even some non-base stealers might be able to take liberties just because they can get bigger leads against a guy who will not throw to first. JetBlue 5th inning recap. Home runs on consecutive pitches by Bryant and Rizzo in the first inning are the difference in this game against Jacob deGrom, who's had a very rough night. 3-2 to Mayberry with Lagares at second. And John checks the swing and fouls back. By the way, that's the 10th stolen base against Lester in 12 tries this year. That's a lot. This is only his 7th start. Well, pitching in that American League East for all those years, not a lot of teams stealing there. They're more playing for the 2- and 3-run homer. Gets the sign with that glove tucked under his chin.
I mean, Ronnie, is that something that can be cured, or at this point is it just you throw up your hands and say he's never going to be able to throw to first?
I think that he's never going to be able to throw to first. The only way I think he could be cured, Gary, is you'd have to see a sports psychologist about it.
We've seen it with so many pitchers who have trouble fielding balls and throwing balls to first base. It's almost become an epidemic.
Well, we've seen that, and we've seen it with second basemen in the past that have done it. Chuck Knobloch, Steve Sachs.
Or catchers who have trouble throwing the ball back to the mound. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming to Mayberry. He got him with a slow curveball. 5th strikeout for Lester. That's the 2nd out of the inning.
Well, good pitch. He's used this pitch often against the right-handed hitter so far in this game. It's really been the one he's controlled the best.
So now 2 out. Lagares still at second. And here's Murphy, who's been up twice and grounded out both times. Mentioned earlier the success Murphy has had in this ballpark, getting balls up in the air to right field, and right now the wind is just howling out to right.
It's shifted a little bit, hasn't it? It's going to come all the way around tomorrow, about 90 more degrees. It's blowing out and to right, where it's going to be blowing in probably tomorrow, because bad weather's supposed to come in, cold weather.
It won't be 90 more degrees. It'll be more like 20 fewer degrees. Ball and a strike to Murphy. It's been a struggle for Murphy against left-hand pitching this year, which has never been the case before. Came into the night hitting 136 against lefties. You know that's going to change. Michael Kadire on deck. 85 pitches for Lester, so he hasn't been much more economical than DeGrom. And he bounces that curveball. 2-1. Murphy hitting number 3 in the batting order for the second straight day, and maybe it stays that way for a while. At least till let's get David Wright back, but that doesn't look like it's on the immediate horizon. Lagares at second and 2 out. Murphy fouls one down the left side. Should be playable for Bryant at the railing. Nope. Just goes out of play. Thought the wind would hold that ball in. It did not. Murph gets another chance. And hey, kids, you can win a chance to join us in the booth and call a Mets game on SNY. Just go to sny.tv/KidCaster. Submit an essay on the topic provided, and you'll be entered in the SNY KidCaster contest presented by New York's 529 College Savings Program. Slash or backslash? One of them. Our people are still there. Murphy lines one right to the second baseman, Russell. Side retired. Mets waits the leadoff hitter, a stolen base in the 5th. Halfway through at Wrigley, 4-1 Cubs. Nice architecture, huh?
Yeah, beautiful city.
Jorge Soler leads off in the home 5th. Cubs up 4-1. Soler has walked and flied out 0 for 1. Jacob deGrom trying to give the Mets one more inning. What has been a very rough night for him. Gave up a couple of home runs in the first inning. Was fortunate to survive with only 1 run in the 4th inning, giving up 3 hits and a walk in that frame. Soler, Castro, and Coghlan, right, left, against deGrom here in the 5th. Soler got in 24 games with the Cubs last year and made a good impression. 5 home runs, drove in 20 runs in those 24 games. Tapped up the first baseline and a kicks foul. Drive around the majors presented by Cadillac. Starling Marte a 3-run homer as the Pirates in front of the Phillies as they play in the 8th inning. Reds lead the Braves. It was a rain-delayed game in Cincinnati. They're now in the 4th. Brewers up 7-5 on the White Sox after they took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs over the weekend. Brewers playing better under Craig Counsell. They're 4-3. Swing and a miss, and Solera's down on strikes. Just the 3rd strikeout of the night for DeGrom. 1 out of the 5th.
Good change up here from Jacob Down.
And I say just the 3rd in deference to the fact that last year we saw some big strikeout games for DeGrom, including the one against Miami, in which he struck out the first 8 batters,
right,
to tie a major league record. And
who had that record?
The guy whose record he tied is sitting a couple of seats to our right. It would be Jim DeShays, who's now working on the Cubs broadcast.
He's outstanding also in the booth. I think he's from upstate New York, isn't he?
Lemoyne College, if I remember correctly.
There he is.
Jimmy.
JD.
Len Casper on Cubs TV. So while DeGrom was striking out the 8 in a row, DeShays was texting from wherever the Cubs were that day, trying to hang on to the record. Castro pops one up in foul ground. Maybe it stays in play for Duda. Nope, just beyond his reach. Wynn kept working that ball back toward the field of play, but Lucas couldn't quite get there. Jim DeShays born in Messina, New York, up in that general vicinity. Lemoyne is in Syracuse, near Syracuse, somewhere there.
I think Duda was fooled by that. When he saw that come off the bat, he thought that was 10 rows deep. You can't give up on any ball in the air here at Wrigley Field. DeShays did it against the Dodgers.
As an Astro, right?
Yeah.
Castro out on strikes. So back-to-back strikeouts for DeGrom. 2 out of the 5th.
What do we talk about? Fastball command. DeGrom used to be able to live on that outside corner. Good pitch there.
So now Chris Coghlan. Coghlan 1 for 2. He's hit 2 balls hard, lined out to 3rd, and then singled over short and scored a run in the 4th.
Gary, I think you have to be very careful when you're a young pitcher. Terry Collins addressed it today in regard to Syndergaard tomorrow. He said, what you have works. Stay within yourself and do what you do. And don't tinker with anything. Your stuff is good enough. That's why you were brought up. That's why you're here. Don't tinker with anything until they make an adjustment on you. When they make that adjustment, then maybe you tinker.
And yet, we've seen in the last few years, pitchers come up, have some success, and be asked to change the program a little bit very quickly. We saw with Matt Harvey.
I personally disagree with that.
DeGrom goes upstairs and strikes out Coghlan on 3 pitches. DeGrom strikes out the side in the 5th. He trails 4-1 after 5. Your city probables for the remainder of the series. Noah Syndergaard makes his much anticipated debut tomorrow night against Jake Arrieta. Matt Harvey Wednesday night against Jason Hamill, and the lefties go Thursday afternoon, John Neese and Travis Wood. Michael Cuddyer leads off the 6th inning and takes a curveball for a strike from John Lester. Cuddyer walked and scored the only Met run in the 4th inning. It'll be Cuddyer, Duda, and Flores for the Mets here in the 6th. And Lester gets it in at the knees, 0-2. Cuddyer turns to question Andy Fletcher about the call. And then he breaks his bat. Castro comes in. Quick throw. Gets Cuddyer by a stride. 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Eamon McEnany in the studio for a game break brought to you by Honda. Pirates just took 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals over the weekend.
It was a quiet 8. I didn't realize Marte had 8 home runs already.
Here's Duda, 1 for 2 on the night. He flares one foul.
He's hitting what McCutchen hasn't hit yet.
It's been a mystery with McCutchen. We know he has a bad knee, and he says that's not the major factor, but you wonder whether a little rest might pay dividends for them down the road.
He did something the other day, though, after a Pirates loss. He had the press near his locker after the game, and I don't know if I've ever heard a superstar say this. He said, listen, I'm getting paid a lot of money. There's no excuses for the start I've gotten off to, and I'm one of the reasons why we have a losing record. I've got to shake it up. I've got to get better. I mean, you usually don't hear that from your superstars. Impressive.
Well, he's impressive.
Yeah, he is.
1-1 to Duda.
Lucas cracks it to deep right center field. Hit it toward the bleachers. It's out of here. Lucas Duda with his 3rd home run of the year. A bullet into the seats in center field, and it cuts the Cubs' lead to 4-2. Home runs last year. Now number 3 in 2015.
Just continues his torrid hitting against left-handed pitching, and now adding some power against left-handed pitching.
2nd home run against the lefty this year for Duda of his 3. First one he's ever hit at Wrigley Field. Now Flores takes inside.
Fastball down middle, immediate reaction. Lester knew it almost before Duda took the swing.
Jimmy knew one.
He knew where the path was going.
Makes Flores move his feet, and it's 2-0 to Wilmer. So the Mets gave up a couple of home runs in the 1st inning, now trying to slug their way back. Duda, who had 2 hits yesterday, fighting out of the slump, 2 hits today, including that home run. Flores has walked and hit into a force play, and he takes a strike, 2-1. Hansel Robles back up in the Mets bullpen. DeGrom up to 97 pitches, so he probably is done for the night. Flores hits one deep down the left field line, back toward the corner. It's out of here! Back-to-back home runs for Duda and Flores, and now it's a 1-run game. Number 4 for Wilmer Flores. So the Cubs went back-to-back in the 1st inning. The Mets turned the trick in the 6th, and they're down 4-3.
Well, I was saying before that Lester did not have his best stuff. The only difference between him and DeGrom, he's kept the ball in the ballpark until this inning. And that ball was knocked down a little bit by the wind. Still got out.
Now Kevin Plawecki, he takes a curveball for a strike. He'll get some stirring around in the Cubs bullpen now after Lester gives up back-to-back homers. Lester had allowed only 2 home runs this season in 6 starts. He gives up 2 in a space of 2 batters. Plawecki hits one deep to center, but this one's playable for Fowler, and he runs back to get it for the 2nd out. The Mets getting some much better swings against John Lester here in the 6th inning.
And now Dilson Herrera will come to the plate with 2 out and nobody on. Herrera has struck out and flied to center, 0 for 2. Justin Grimm, first man up in the Cubs bullpen, recently back from the disabled list. Well, we mentioned earlier that Lester signed a 6-year, $155 million contract. He was one of the 3 elite starting pitchers on the free agent market. Of the 3, Max Scherzer off to the best start.
It looked like James Shields, who had to wait the longest.
4-0 despite an elevated ERA for a Padre team that has been scoring.
And that first pitch to Herrera, Gary, sorry. Lester thought it was a strike, and he started screaming at the umpire, Andy Fletcher. You don't really usually see that by a pitcher.
Well, if you've given up a couple of home runs, you can be a little testy. I know you never were.
I've done it many times.
Lester up over 100 pitches, and he misses with a changeup, and it's 2-1.
Again.
Now he's barking one more time. And the first baseman, Anthony Rizzo, the leader of this team, is going to go over and try and settle down his pitcher as Ross talks to the umpire.
I told you folks earlier that this umpiring crew just does not. They're not aggressive in calling strikes. That's all I'll say. As a team.
What's the expression you use? Tin cup?
You got to throw it in the tin cup to get a strike.
2-1 to Herrera. Anthony Recker on deck to pinch hit if Herrera keeps the inning going. And Dilson checks his swing, and no call for Lester there. Now it's 3-1, and he's even angrier. He just spread his hands wide as if to say, what do I have to do?
Well, Joe Madden recently came out in a series they played and said that the umpiring was brutal in his estimation.
Well, maybe Herrera gets a fat one here as Lester, behind 3-1, throws a curveball and misses for ball 4. Well, Lester is really hot.
It's almost like the home plate umpire said, you keep yelling, I'm not calling anything for a strike. You get to a certain level as a starting pitcher, and you believe that any close call is going to come your way, and Lester is losing his composure out there.
Well, I'm a little surprised that the pitching coach, Chris Bosio, is not at the mound. You would think, even with a veteran pitcher, you need to calm this guy down.
Not only would I calm him down, I'd be out there, and as soon as Fletcher came out, I'd get thrown out of the game.
Now, Anthony Recker had come out on deck to pinch hit, but it looks like Terry Collins is going to change his mind. And he's going to send up Ruben Tejada instead. It's an interesting choice there. Does it mean that Herrera is going to try and steal a base here, and maybe that you give Tejada a chance to drive in a run that way?
Well, maybe you could do it that way. I thought Recker might be a great choice only because the wind blowing out. You'd like to see him try to put the Mets ahead.
So we'll see how the Mets play it here. They've already stolen one base against Lester tonight. There's Chris Bosio, who's staying put in the dugout. They've got Grimm up in the bullpen. Lester's at 105 pitches. And Tejada, who has played very well the last couple of days, takes a strike. Ruben went 3 for 6 in the 2 games he played over the weekend in Philadelphia. Also turned in some gems defensively. He's hit some home runs in this ballpark, hasn't he?
I think he has. You're right.
Round and a half swing, and it's 0-2. So Lester, after the walk to Herrera, getting ahead quickly on Tejada. Juan Lagares would be next. Herrera at first and 2 out. Ross sets up way outside, and that's where the pitch goes, 1-2.
If Lester gets through these 6 innings, it's going to be merely on his curveball. That's been his only pitch that's been real effective.
He's at a season high with 108 pitches through 106 in his last start in St. Louis in 7 innings last Wednesday. One-two coming. Tejada lays off, and it skips away from Ross, and down to second base goes Herrera. So that's how the Mets get the runner to second base on the wild pitch by Lester.
And now the tying run in scoring position.
They'll trying to get Tejada to offer at that pitch in the dirt. He does not. Hard to fault Ross there. He did everything you're supposed to do. Just got a bat carry.
So now a base hit could tie the game. Herrera at second and 2 out. Tejada, as he so often does, behind in the count, working his way back into it. Strike 3 call. Lester got the call that time. And the Mets get a couple, but leave the tying run in scoring position. 6th strikeout for Lester. Mets get closer, though, with a couple of big swings. Lucas Duda with his 3rd home run of the year. Wilmer Flores follows with his 4th. 4-3 Cubs in the 6th. Pitcher Jacob deGrom got hit early. John Lester got hit late and then got hot at the umpire. And they are both seemingly done for the night. deGrom out and Lester about to be out. Hansel Robles will pitch the bottom of the 6th.
Both starters gave up back-to-back home runs. Robles hasn't pitched in 3 days. Pitched on Friday night in Philadelphia. An inning of work.
David Ross leading off for the Cubs in the home 6th. Wellington Castillo out on deck to pinch hit, one of the Cubs' 3 catchers. And the slider from Robles outside, 1-1. Ross was intentionally walked to the 1st, then got credit for a sacrifice in the 4th. For his apparent safe call at first was overturned. Robles gets ahead with 1-2. Well, with the newly opened bleachers, over 32,000 at Wrigley Field tonight. Get up to full capacity, but the bleacher folks have seen plenty of souvenirs. Of course, they've had to throw a couple back. Robles strikes out Ross to start the 6th. That's 4 straight strikeouts for Met pitchers.
Nice slider here by Robles, but on the outside corner. I like his motion, closes that front side and really pushes off that back leg. Long stride for. You know, he's a tall guy, but not overly tall. That's Johan Santana-like stride. Billy Wagner type of stride.
Now Wellington Castillo, 34 at-bats this season, 10 of them as a pinch hitter. He has a pinch hit home run to his credit already this year. And he takes a slider for a strike. Number 1 catcher is Miguel Montero, the former Diamondback. He's been doing the bulk of the catching. Ross catches Lester, and Castillo catches occasionally.
Broken bat, foul ball.
I mean, he was their #1 catcher last year. Not only did they get Montero, which he knew now I'm going to be the backup catcher, but they got Ross as the principal catcher for Lester. So doubly out.
It's very odd that both these teams right now are carrying 3 catchers because you see so few major league teams do it. Mets with Johnny Manel and Anthony Recker as backups. Joe Madden's only got 4 players on his bench, and 2 of them are catchers. Into right center, away from Lagares, but he gets over, reaches down and grabs it. That ball knuckled on Lagares, and he stayed with it for the second out.
I think you're right there. I think it was a knuckleball. See how it is moving in the air? And somehow Lagares stayed with it and was able to reach down at the last minute to make that play.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Addison Russell, who drove in a run with a 4th inning single that right now is the difference in this game. And he takes a strike from Robles, who's looking sharp. Robles went more than a week before his prior outing against the Phillies. Got 3 fly ball outs in that game. Zach Rosscup, the left-hander, joins Justin Grimm, the right-hander, in that Cubs bullpen. That's bullpen is quiet behind Robles. There's a hit on Russell, 0-2 with 2 out.
The Mets had a reliever, Fernando Nieve. Reminds me of Robles. The way he throws reminds me of Nieve.
Nieve, the guy who pitched in 19 of the first 31 games and then got a start.
Jerry thought he was hot.
And then couldn't lift his arm the rest of the year. That guy?
Yes.
Just off the plate. 1-2, and now it's Robles looking in questioningly at Andy Fletcher.
It's a good uniform, that road New York on the front.
He never got to wear that one, did he?
No, I mean, honestly, of all the uniforms the Mets have ever worn, those ones in the 80s might be the most tired of all of them.
Deuces and 5s.
Yahtzee.
Struck him out. Nasty slider by Robles. He fans 2 in the inning and gets the Cubs out 1-2-3. Mets to go back to work, this time against the Cubs bullpen in the 7th, down by a run. Syndergaard makes his major league debut against the Cubs, and we'll have it for you here on SNY. Our coverage begins tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Justin Grimm, recently back from the disabled list, on to pitch for the Cubs.
Yeah, he had some right forearm inflammation. He was activated on May 6th, 5 days ago. Played a huge part in this Cubs bullpen last year when he appeared in 73 games.
This is now just his third appearance of the season. He'll face Juan Lagares at the top of the Mets batting order. Juan is 0 for 2 and a walk, and now time is called by the second base umpire. Something got loose on the warning track out in left center.
Someone lost the ball cap.
Well, when there was nobody in the bleachers, they didn't have that problem. Dexter Fowler said it was going to be very exciting tonight to have the energy of the fans behind him. She said it was kind of strange before that.
She just threw it back on the field.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
I guess she wants Dexter to have it. Lagares lays off the slider, 1-1. Honestly, did she do that on purpose?
She took the hat. I won't say what she did with the hat, and then she threw it back on the field.
I guess it's going to stay there for a while. She kept the ski cap.
The girl in the pinstripe Cub uniform. Yeah,
you. Lagares refusing to chase the breaking ball out of the strike zone from Grimm, and it's 2-1.
Here goes Dexter again. He's got to get the hat.
This time he should just put it in his pocket or stuck it. Yeah, there you go. Or stick it in the ivy. Now what's she going to do?
There she is. She got the hat on the lower left. Stay away from that hat, Lester fan. Not this time. Okay.
2-1 to Lagares with Mayberry on deck. Fly ball foul. And that'll make it over to the seats. 2-2.
Doesn't really work out for fans when they're singled out in this ballpark, Gary. It's a bad thing.
Well, it didn't work for one guy in particular in 2003. Life was never the same. You're very exposed here. Of course, the two guys who were involved in that play in 2003 in the League Championship Series wound up playing for the Mets.
That's right.
The guy who hit the ball, Luis Castillo, and the guy who didn't catch the ball, Moises Alou. Nobody remembers Alex Gonzalez, the shortstop who booted the double play grinder. They only remember the guy who interfered with Alou. I hate saying his name because he's had enough.
Yeah, I like that you didn't mention it. And I won't either.
Right there.
Yeah, you. No, not you.
Seventh pitch of the at-bat coming from Grimm to Lagares. He fights off another one. Now the Cubs bullpen has really struggled lately. You see some of the particulars. Just let a game get away in Milwaukee yesterday that they lost in the 11th inning.
There's pitching coach Chris Bosio.
Eighth pitch of the at-bat coming to Lagares, leading off in the seventh, and he fouls off a fifth straight pitch. 93-mile-an-hour fastball from Grimm.
Nice at-bat by Juan.
Justin Grimm, 73 games last year for the Cubs. University of Georgia product, just 26 years old. Mayberry on deck. You would have thought the Mets would have a left-handed bat ready, but with Ross Cup ready in the bullpen, looks like Mayberry will stay in. 2-2 coming. 6 foul balls in a row from Lagares. Well, he's dialed it up. Grimm has up to 95 that last pitch, and Lagares has been equal to every one. What does he do next?
Lagares hit that one on the roof.
He rolled back down into the lower deck. Nine pitches deep in the at-bat and no result yet. Lagares looking to get one up in the air like Duda and Flores did in the last inning. with that wind howling out. Cubs hit back-to-back home runs in the first. Bryant and Rizzo on consecutive pitches against DeGrom. Duda and Flores went back-to-back against John Lester in the sixth. Grimm just trying to get through his first batter. And Lagares takes outside, ball 3. What a turn at bat this is turning into for Lagares. And Grimm looking like Lester did last inning, upset with Andy Fletcher.
Although I think that ball was off the corner. Good take by Juan. Good pitch by Grimm, but I still think just off the corner. See how Ross has to kind of reach for it? But boy, what a close pitch.
3-2 coming, and the breaking ball hit foul. So 11 pitches and still going. Well, he laid off some sliders out of the strike zone early in the count. He was able to lay off the fastball just off the plate later in the count. He's fouled off 7 pitches during this at bat. This will be the 12th pitch coming. And Lagares down on strikes. So Grimm wins that battle. 1 out of the 7.
Well, good at bat, better pitching by Grimm. He went back to that fastball away. That wasn't called a strike on the 2-2 pitch. And Juan off it this time.
So a lot of hard work for Grimm to get through one batter. Now it's Mayberry. 0 for 3 today. And 1 hard hit ball to the warning track in left center that Coughlin ran down in the third. Now 0 for his last 18 and a rare at bat against a right-hand pitcher. And he takes the breaking ball for a strike.
Interesting, both Bryant and Castro to pull. Bryant protecting the line.
Mets have Monell, Neuenhuis, and Granderson on the bench. But Terry Collins staying with Mayberry here. And he bounces one for Castro. Nice big hop. 2 out. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Daniel Murphy, who's 0 for 3 today. All of that against the lefty Lester. Lester went 6, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, a wild pitch, and 2 home runs. 110 pitches, a season high for Lester. He's in line for his 3rd win of the year. Mets were down 3-0 and 4-1 before they got the back-to-back homers from Duda and Flores in the 6th. The way these two teams have gone, if it's a battle of the bullpens so far this season, you'd have to say the Mets have a leg up. It hasn't always been pretty for everybody but Familia.
Yeah, it's pretty in the 9th.
Yeah, but they've gotten the job done. Sometimes it's taken a hard hit ball into a double play or a line drive at a fielder, but they've gotten the outs they've had to.
Well, what they've done with the extra guy in the bullpen or guys in the bullpen is that they've been able to use 3 or 4 pitchers sometimes over the course of 2 innings to get the outs needed to get the Familia.
Right now what the Mets need is a run. And Grimm kicking at the dirt at the front of the mound. 2-1 to Murphy with Kadire on deck. Murph grounds one to the right side. And Russell makes the play, and Grimm, after a lot of work, has himself a 1-2-3 inning. Stretch time in Chicago, 4-1 Cubs, 4-3 Cubs.
fly Sanchez. He never dropped one of those in his life.
He just did.
He did. Holy cow. How about that? I'm trying to tell you for 15 years. You take it too seriously. It's only a game. Nobody cares. It doesn't affect the nation.
And, of course, the legendary Harry Carey in his final days as a Cubs broadcaster working with Steve Stone.
I remember before he had his restaurant, he would hold court after the day games, only day games when I first came up to the major leagues here, at Gene and Giorgetti's. It was a steakhouse.
Dexter Fowler leading off the home seven.
He was as funny as it gets.
He was an American classic.
Yes, he was.
You know, he was an item of some interest here in Chicago because he was such a singular personality. It's popped up. Flores goes out, called off by Lagares, and Fowler retired for the first time tonight. One out in the home seventh. But if you go back to the beginnings of his big league broadcasting career when he worked in St. Louis alongside Jack Buck, he was fantastic. Yeah. Then he moved around a bunch after that. He wound up for the first time in Chicago working with the White Sox with Jimmy Pearsall on the radio, and that was lunacy times two.
That's what I heard. I never heard that broadcast, but they would go places that maybe Keith goes occasionally.
Well, the classic byplay between him and Jimmy Pearsall, who of course had well documented mental health issues.
Yeah.
And of course, this was in a day when you could say these things. Jimmy would say to Harry, "You're crazy, Harry," and Harry would say, "Well, you got the papers to prove it." Here's Chris Bryant, who had a 2-run homer back in the first inning, and Robles keeps it away from him, which is what the Mets have been doing since that home run in the first inning.
Well, that pitch was supposed to be a way that DeGrom threw also. He just missed his spot, drifted back over the inside part of the plate.
Since then, Bryant has struck out and walked. DeGrom went 5, allowed 4 runs, 5 hits, 4 walks, 1 intentional, 5 strikeouts, a hit batsman, and the 2 home runs. Certainly not DeGrom's best start. But the Mets have gotten him back within a run, and Robles has retired 4 in a row out of the bullpen. And now it's 3-1 to Bryant with Anthony Rizzo on deck. That's Sean Gilmartin, the left-hander, Buddy Carlisle, the right-hander, up in the bullpen. Bryant walks for a second time. So Robles, wanting no part of Chris Bryant, issues a 1-out walk. And now Rizzo will come up with a man on. Rizzo followed Bryant's home run with a home run of his own in the first inning, his 7th of the year. Since then, he's grounded out twice. We were talking about the Mets bullpen and how successful they've been despite some hiccups. 19 2/3 innings this month. The Mets bullpen has allowed 1 run. Terry Collins is going to bring in the lefty here. Sean Gilmartin in to face Anthony Rizzo. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. We'll be right back to Chicago.
Robles pitched on Friday.
Sean Gilmartin brought in to face Anthony Rizzo with 1 out and 1 on in the 7th.
I see Gilmartin's numbers. He, like Robles, pitched in Friday night's game in Philadelphia.
Rizzo has been crushing lefties the last couple of years. Between last year and this, hitting .445 against left-handed pitching. .478 this year.
11 hits, 23 at-bats, 4 of them doubles against left-handed pitching this year.
2 years ago, he had under 200 against lefties. So what an adjustment for a young player.
Maybe the same kind of adjustment that Lucas Duda is making this season.
So Duda hit a home run against the left-hander tonight. Mets hoping to turn 2 on the infield. Gilmartin got a double play in his last outing against Chase Utley. And he comes inside, gets a strike call on Rizzo. The strike ball calls have been all over the place tonight.
Change up inside. I think Rizzo thought that ball was high. Caught the plate.
Bryant at first and 1 out. Rizzo lays off the breaking ball. 2-2. Jorge Soler, a right-hand batter on deck, so this could be a 1-batter assignment for Gilmartin. Buddy Carlisle continues to throw in the Mets bullpen. Also, Robles went an inning and a third, gave up a walk and struck out 2. No hits. 2-2 coming. And Rizzo lifts it to center. Lagares stationed perfectly. 2 out. So there's a big out for Gilmartin. Let's see what Terry Collins does here. Yep, he's going to bring in Carlisle to face Soler. So Gilmartin gets his man, and he'll take his exit. And the Mets will go to their 4th pitcher of the night. Buddy Carlisle on his way in. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Empire City Casino. 4-3 Cubs in the 7th. We'll be right back. Buddy Carlisle tries to get 1 big out in the 7th. Brought in to face Jorge Soler, and he comes up and in for ball 1.
Last time we saw Buddy Carlisle on the mound, he induced that double play grounder that spun Tejada around in the Philadelphia series.
Bryant at first with 2 outs. Soler 0 for 2 in the walk tonight. Struck out his last time up against DeGrom. Soler struck out in the 5th, the 46th time he's struck out this year in 120 at bats. And there are your National League leaders in strikeouts.
All the guys who have a lot of homers.
Presented by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Enter promo code NYM for free entry. The Cubs, through 30 games coming into tonight, 304 strikeouts, a major league record for most strikeouts in the team's first 30 games.
Yeah, 10 a game. I mean, just imagine. I saw an interesting stat on Bryce Harper, who was in that DraftKings strikeout total. He's faced 386 different pitchers before tonight. Not one of them younger than he. Crazy. Reminds you how young he is.
How about this? Bryce Harper grew up near Chris Bryant in Las Vegas. They played on some tournament teams together. Bryce Harper, who's been in the league for, what, 4 years now? 10 months younger than Chris Bryant. Two and two to Soler. Bryant runs and it's fouled back. Bryant has a couple of stolen bases. Not a burner, but a very good base runner from all who have been watching him since he came up.
One of those guys that might steal 15 a year for you.
The Cubs have been doing a lot of running. Lecky threw out Fowler, their only attempt tonight, but the Cubs second in the National League in stolen bases. 2-2 up and in, and Soler has to take a seat. Full count.
Carlisle trying to throw that ball the outside part of the plate, overdid it, and the ball rushes in on Soler.
Soler back on his feet. Bryant gets set to run. 3-2 and 2 out. That's low, ball 4, and Soler draws the walk. Second walk of the inning issued by the Mets bullpen. Robles walked Bryant. Now Carlisle walks Soler. And now Buddy will have to face Starlin Castro with 2 men on.
First walk of the season by Carlisle, who's usually one of the best strike throwers for the Mets in the bullpen.
So now Castro, who's 0 for 3 tonight. A couple of ground balls and a strikeout. What does Joe want? He's talking to Andy Fletcher. And now they're going to talk up close.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. Remember what I brought up about Buddy Carlisle, that he does not set at the belt?
Right.
That's what he's talking about right now. He said he just separates quickly. You got to have a whole beat at your waist before you proceed.
Now, how much is there to the idea that for a veteran pitcher who's always done that the same way, that they'll give him more leeway as long as he does it the same way every time?
Well, Joe is probably arguing that's not what the rule is, though. The rule is that you have to. I think you're right, Gary. I think there is some leeway, and they will allow pitchers to do what they've always done. But what you can do as a pitcher, you can really help your momentum by not stopping at the belt.
So now 2 out and 2 on for Castro. He fouls back the first pitch. Buddy is not throwing as hard tonight as we're accustomed to seeing.
See how the glove is moving? You can't do that. At some point, it's got to be still, even if it's for a half a second. But it's got to be still. His is always moving.
He's full speed.
The problem I have is that the first time it's going to be called, you know what'll happen. It'll be the bases loaded or. Castro got a pitch to hit there.
Well, there are 13 ways to balk. This is one of them. Pitcher after his stretch must hold the ball with both hands and come to a complete stop.
Now remember, here we go.
It's a balk if a complete stop is not made. Now in 1987 they had forced that rule, and balks went up by about 500%, and then they backed off the next year.
0-2 to Castro. Hit sharply, but Duda had him play perfectly, knocks it down, and Carlisle gets over to cover. Side retired. Duda playing off the line, and that was the right place to be against Castro. And it gets the Mets through the bottom of the 7th, still 4-3. I think the Nats are hot. 4 straight wins to get 2 games over 500 and a huge lead early tonight. Michael Kadire leads off the 8th inning against Justin Grimm, who worked a 1-2-3 7th. Kadire 0 for 2 in a walk tonight and takes a slider for a strike.
That was between innings when Madden came out again to ask Andy Fletcher about Buddy Carlisle and that stop or non-stop at the belt. He wants an explanation, and it's gamesmanship. He might try to get that call later in the series.
Cubs with a 1-run lead in the 8th inning. Normally Joe Madden goes to Pedro Strop as his 8th inning man, but Strop worked 2 innings yesterday in Milwaukee and probably not available tonight. So he's got Grimm and then the lefty Ross Cup up in the bullpen ready for Duda. 1-2 to Kadire. Of course, Duda hit a home run against the lefty his last time up. It's going to take a while to dissuade opposing managers from bringing in lefties to face him.
Well, what I find funny, I mean, we gave you the numbers on Anthony Rizzo against left-handed pitching, but, you know, Terry brought in his left-hander Gil Martin to face him. I'm sure Joe's going to bring in the left-hander to face Duda. It's just that will never leave the game. The lefty-lefty matchup doesn't care. I don't care what the numbers say. They will always still go to that.
Every once in a while you get a manager who bucks the trend.
Yeah.
Remember when John Franco was pitching for the Mets, and of course Johnny had the great screwball changeup and was much tougher against right-hand hitters. Dusty Baker routinely would send up left-hand pinch hitters against him because he thought he had an advantage that way. But it doesn't happen often. 2-2 coming to Kadire. Off the plate, full count. Mets have been battling from behind all night. They were down 3-0 after 1, 4-1 after 4. They got the home runs from Duda and Flores in the 6th. And now find themselves still down a run in the 8th. First meeting of the year between the Mets and Cubs. 3-2 from Grimm. Not good cut by Kadire.
So odd the way the schedule was broken early in the season. Mets have played 31 games, 26 of them against their own division, the other 5 against the American League. So it's their first game against any team outside their own division in the National League in game 32 after a fifth of the season. Again, the 3-2.
Breaking ball, line right center, base hit.
There's a big at bat for Kadire, and the Mets have the tying run aboard with nobody out in the 8th.
Well, just a hanging breaking ball on the 3-2 count. Kadire stays back on it. Good hitting. I'm fooled by that 3-2 breaking ball.
Joe Madden's going to bring in the lefty Zach Rosscup to face Lucas Duda. So the Mets with an opportunity here in the 8th. Rosscup coming in for the Cubs. Mets have the tying run aboard in a 4-3 game. We'll be right back. .26-year-old Zach Rosscup comes in to face Lucas Duda. Tying run at first, nobody out, and Rosscup fires a strike.
Rosscup has been pretty good out of that bullpen, especially with strikeouts, but gave up 2 home runs in yesterday's game against Milwaukee.
Zach Rosscup from Clackamas, Oregon, facing Duda, who's 2 for 3 tonight, including a home run against the left-hander John Lester. Our ace statistician Ethan tells us that Duda has had 1 game in his career in which he's hit 2 home runs off lefties. In 2012 against the Phillies off Cliff Lee and Raul Valdez.
Pearls of wisdom right there. Wow.
Think Dave Freed gets us that stuff?
Absolutely not. Especially if he was checking his texts.
Wilmer Flores on deck. He homered his last time up. Duda cracked one into the bleachers in center field for his 3rd home run of the year in the 6th inning. Kadire at first and nobody out, and Duda with a good cut fouls back the fastball 2-2.
Boy, he just missed that one. Right down the middle, right on it, just a little under it.
Checks in on Kadire.
More people throw over when Michael Kadire is on first base. I don't get it.
Johnny Manel is warming up his arm in the Mets bullpen. That's another good cut by Duda. Does that mean they're thinking about batting from Pilecki?
Wow.
Unless there's something wrong with Plawecki that we're not aware of. Plawecki is 2 batters away behind Flores in the batting order. Nobody up in the Cubs bullpen, so the lefty Roscup looks like he's going to finish the inning. Duda hits it hard, but right to Rizzo for the double play. 3 unassisted, 2 out and nobody on.
Well, that's just bad luck for Lucas. Rizzo doesn't get off that bag, so he's still protecting that line. That ball would have been down the line for a double. Backhands that play, an easy double play.
Nothing Kadire could do. So rough luck for the Mets. 2 out and nobody on now, and Wilmer Flores will bat against the left-hander. Flores drilled a home run into the bleachers in left field his last time up, his 4th of the year. Roscup throws a fastball for a strike.
He's got pretty good stuff, this young lefty.
Had 18 appearances with the Cubs last year, 10 the year before. Now a mainstay in that Chicago bullpen. Flores gets under 1 to left. Playable for Coughlin or Fowler. Fowler calls. Side retired. Roscup gets the benefit of a line drive double play, and the Mets fail to score in the 8th. John Lester had a great night. Each gave up back-to-back home runs, but Lester with the upper hand, going 6, and a 4-3 lead for the Cubs as we go to the bottom of the 8th.
Well, do you think you know more about the Mets than Gary and Howie? SNY is looking for teams of 2 fans to compete against the best. Think you have what it takes to outsmart the brains of the booth and win $5,000? Then come to Citi Field for SNY's open audition for Beat the Booth, presented by Citi, Saturday, May 16th. Starting at 9 a.m.
Do Howie and I have to try out too?
Maybe.
Eric Adell will pitch the bottom of the 8th for New York.
He pitched in yesterday's ball game in Philadelphia. Gave up the sac fly to Jeff Francoeur.
Chris Coughlin 1 for 3 tonight. Leads off in the home 8th. Stepping out. Time was called by the third base umpire because a ball got loose out of the left field bullpen. Jordan Baker called time, so that pitch did not count. Hector Rondon, the Cubs closer, getting himself ready for the 9th inning. Mets will have the lower third of the order due up. Plawecki, Herrera, and the pitcher's spot. That's hit hard into right field, and Coughlin's got his 2nd hit of the night. So the Cubs looking for insurance, get the leadoff man on in the 8th. Now it's David Ross, and well, he got credit for a sacrifice he didn't deserve in the 4th inning. Now he's up in a sacrifice situation. Pitcher's spot due up next.
Murphy's not playing for a bunt as he's playing back.
I think the bunt is in order here. You're going to get a pinch hitter next. And then you got Russell behind the pinch hitter. Well, all set to swing, and he fouls it back. This Murph knew more than we did.
Yes, he did.
Or maybe Madden gave him just the one swing. We'll see. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. We asked, since 1950, 2 Hall of Famers to play in 2,000 games, but none in the postseason. Ernie Banks is one. Ron Santa, also a Cub. We've lost both those gentlemen in recent years, much to the dismay of all who love the game. Ron Santa, of course, longtime radio analyst for the Cubs games, or his Cubs heart on his sleeve.
And I know I became closer to him once I found out that he had played his entire career as a type 1 diabetic.
Knocked down nicely by Plawecki, 1-2. By the way, you saw Miguel Montero on deck. Joe Madden has not been shy about using his entire bench. He's already used one of his backup catchers as a pinch hitter. Now he's going to use his other. This is a game that could go extra innings. You never know. But that's the way Joe has played it early in the season with the Cubs.
Well, the one thing about Joe Madden, if you watch him manage games, he's fearless. You know, he'll roll the dice often.
One-two coming to Ross. It's just off the plate, a splitter from Goodell. 2-2.
Joe's used to managing half his games when he was in Tampa inside. So getting used to the cold weather.
Wait till tomorrow, Joe, and the next day. Two, runner goes, swung and missed. The throw by Plawecki, not in time, and Coghlan steals the base as Ross strikes out. 3rd stolen base of the year for Coghlan.
Good split finger there by Goodell. Quick release, but that ball cut on Plawecki. So it's to the throwing side of the body of Herrera. So no play at second base.
Now with the runner in scoring position, Matt's going to change up. He pulls Montero back. He'll send Matt Caesar instead to pinch hit. Caesar, the Jersey native who we saw play against the Mets at Citi Field last year, recent call-up. SCCZ-U-R?
Yeah.
Never get that right. Third ball sits high to Caesar, 1-0. It's like an eye chart.
It's almost unfair to ask you when you're a young kid to spell your name in school.
Hit hard to short. Flores checks the runner, double clutches, and then throws out Caesar. I don't know what happened there to Wilmer, but he gets the out, 2 away.
He looked at his hand like he lost the grip. Let's see. Gets it? No, it looks more like he just didn't pick up where Duda was. Duda playing off the line probably got there a little late.
But you got to trust your first baseman's going to get there.
You just throw it. You throw it to the base.
Keith's talked about that a lot because he played so far off the line. You have to trust that your first baseman is going to arrive. So Coghlan's still at second, 2 out. Now Addison Russell, and he takes a strike. Russell 1 for 3, drove on a run with a 4th inning single. Struck out his last time up against Robles, and he fouls that one off, 0-2. I was going to say, looking at the spelling of Caesar's name, there used to be a catcher named Doug Goosh.
Yeah.
With the Padres, Gwodsz. and his nickname was Eye Chart.
That makes sense.
Away 1-2 to Russell. Mets have used 5 pitchers tonight. Not a good night for DeGrom. Gave up 4 runs in 5 innings, but Robles, Gilmartin, Carlisle, now Goodell, all keeping the Cubs off the board, keeping this a 1-run game. Another chance for Flores. No double clutch this time, and he throws out Russell to end the inning. So a good inning for Eric Goodell. Now the Mets come up in the 9th against Hector Rondon, down by a run. And Hector Rondon will bid for his 6th save of the year.
Yeah, the hard throwing Rondon. 6 for 7 in save opportunities this year.
Curtis Granderson will bat for Kevin Plawecki, leading off in the 9th inning, and Granderson takes a strike. Curtis hit his 3rd home run of the year yesterday in Philadelphia. He's got a base hit in his only career at bat against Rondon, and the Cubs put the shift on against Curtis. And he lays off the slider. 1-1. Dilson Herrera on deck. Then the pitcher's spot. That's either Manel or Neuenhuis. 2-1 to Granderson. Perfect guy to have leading off in this 9th inning. Can draw a walk and hit a home run. 27-year-old Hector Rondon took over as the closer last year with the Cubs. Saved 29 games. 2-2 to Granderson. 96 from Rondon. Two coming to Curtis. And he lays off the slider. 3-2. Granderson has drawn 19 walks this year, up among the league leaders. Rondon has only walked 4 this season. Make it 5, and Granderson is aboard to start the 9th inning. Terrific at bat for Granderson. Coming up right after the game is over, Gary Apple, Nelson Figueroa will be along. WB Mason postgame live. All the highlights, all the interviews, all the postgame reaction. And then after that, it's Sports Night on SNY. Chris Carlin will have Deflategate fallout and much more. Well, normally you don't play for the tying run on the road. Let's see what the Mets do here with Herrera. Johnny Manel on deck to pinch hit. Granderson at first and nobody out, and Herrera is up there to bunt, so Terry Collins, at least on that first pitch, going against the book, which says that you play for the lead on the road, the tie at home.
The only difference would be is that if you can get this game tied, your bullpen, I think, is stronger than the Cubs bullpen.
Mets have used more of their bullpen tonight than the Cubs have. And the bunt off on the second pitch. 1-1.
Probably didn't like how he offered at the first one.
Yeah, plus you brought Bryant in now at third base, a chance to pull it past him. Carlos Torres up alongside Jeurys Familia. Familia if there's a save opportunity. Torres if the Mets tie it, one would suppose. Granderson 2 stolen bases this year.
Bryant in close with the threat of the bunt.
1-1 coming. Herrera lines it toward the middle. Caught by Castro. Oh, a huge play by Starling Castro for the first out.
That's 2 line drives and successive innings off the bats of Mets. Duda for the double play to Rizzo, and here an outstanding play made by Castro. Up the middle, snow cone, but makes the play.
The ball was by him, and he was able to reach back.
I mean, Granderson goes first to third on this ball easily, except for the great play by Castro.
Wow. Well, Chris Bosio didn't like the looks of that. And the Cubs pitching coach is heading to the mound. Johnny Manel is announced as the pinch hitter. Manel had that big 2-run double for insurance for the Mets yesterday in Philadelphia, just his second big league hit, and he'll be looking for his third now as Bosio talks it over with Rondon.
Well, I think he's coming out here to really give him the scouting report on Johnny Manel. What we've seen of him so far, loves to hit the fastball, loves to hit early in the count.
Well, Manel, who had 8 at-bats as a Giant 2 years ago, has had 2 at-bats on this road trip for the Mets. He hit that comebacker into a double play in his first at-bat on Saturday, and then that double up the gap in right center in yesterday's game. Had a great spring training for the Mets, was tearing it up at Vegas before he was called up. So Rondon has given up a walk and a bullet. And now Manel trying to weigh in. 29-year-old out of Christopher Columbus High School in the Bronx.
Rondon takes forever to deliver the ball to the plate, but Granderson really doesn't run anymore.
There was a time when Granderson was a prolific base stealer. Now he picks his spots. And Manel takes one just off the plate. 1-1.
The ball drifts off the corner. You can see Ross try to yank it back in the zone.
Johnny Manel, the 38th player born in New York City to play for the Mets. It's a double play ball right at Russell, but it handcuffs him. They get the out at second and turn it over, and the ball game is over. Rondon winds up with the save for John Lester. The Cubs back-to-back home runs in the first trumped the Mets back-to-back home runs in the sixth. Russell able to recover. The Cubs able to turn the 4-6-3 double play, and the Cubs take the opener of the series 4-3.
Well, he couldn't hit the ball any harder than the Mets did in the 8th and 9th inning to come up with nothing. Rondon with his 7th save and 8